Now he beats Jack Briscoe to become the world champion, but Jack Briscoe didn't beat Dory. Jack Briscoe beat Harley Race, who beat Dory.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, and I know we talked about it a little bit before, I recently asked Jerry Briscoe, just kind of jokingly about it, and why Dory didn't lose to Jack. And he said, "Oh, he said, he got in an accident on his farm, is the story." So I said, "Where's the police report? Well, where's?" And he said, "There is none. There's no information about any accidents. There's no police report. So what's the story here, Doctor Tom? You're from that area. What happened? What happened with Briscoe and Funk?"
Well, I think now you're just poking the bear because the story's been out there for years, and and I look back on it especially to figure out how important the NWA was back then to professional wrestling, because it was like their claim was to be the real world champion, dating all the way back to the beginning, of the NWA and the world champions, I guess, right? You do know this, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. But the NWA was like 1905 or whatever the fuck is where they're tracing stuff back. And Dory Funk Jr. was a babyface, but also he was a Texan first and foremost. And Jack Briscoe was from Oklahoma. And you do know the rivalry between Texas and Oklahoma, I'm sure.
Yes.
Okay. So I was just a wee lad back then. So I was certainly not privy to any of those meetings firsthand by any stretch of the imagination. But my assumption would be this: you have a baby face and a strong wrestling champion and strong NWA champion and him, Dory Funk Jr. and Jack Briscoe had gone all over the country doing these 60-minute and 90-minute draws back then. So now it comes time for Dory to do the job in Houston. And look, I'm not saying it did or didn't happen. I'm saying the story was that Dory was in an accident and couldn't make it. So my question would be then, once you were healthy enough, why wouldn't you go ahead and have your first match back with Jack and drop the belt then? Instead, he went to Kansas City and dropped it to Harley. Okay, so my question would be why? And so those are, the only conclusions I can draw is he preferred Harley over Jack, and he wasn't going to lose in Texas. So
It's also weird though because they were saying, oh, they wanted the heel, like the heel, because Race being the heel to beat the babyface. But they always had matches, Briscoe and
oh
Funk,
yeah,
like so babyface. So that wasn't a problem.
no, I don't think it had anything to do with who was a good guy or bad guy in this. I just think it was the perception that Dory Funk Jr. was such a great champion that they didn't want him to lose to Jack Briscoe for whatever reason. For who knows? So I think both guys in their matches, it would be a contest, and they would do their stuff, and they had their spots, and they knew what to work, and they had their match down. They knew they could do 60 minutes, they could do 90 minutes, they could do whatever they needed to do. But I don't believe either one ever turned completely heel. It was usually Dory, because he was a champion, who might throw the first forearm or uppercut, and that was where they went. But they had great matches. That's the thing, and they had great chemistry together. I just think when it came down to doing whatever they wanted to do, they decided, no, we'll do it this way instead.
Yeah, their matches still hold up. I mean, the wrestling in the matches is great. I love going back watching some of those matches.
Yeah, they were great. They really were. Some really good stuff.
But it's interesting when it's time to return the favor. Jack Briscoe has no problem losing to Terry Funk.
Yeah, right. Once again, business is business, and I think I understand that more so now than I did then, because I kind of thought the same thing, and then I realized um, it's just business, and that's the way they looked at it. But does it get personal? I'm sure it does. And people say Jack did the favor back. Well, yeah, because Jack was a pro. Jack knew that was the right thing to do. So
Interesting.